Hello guys, today's video is going to be a response to a few of the questions that people have asked me on the forums. And one of the questions that came up was the healing choices. A lot of people say that they prefer to use consume conditions. They feel it's superior, and I will explain why I feel is the in World vs. World is the least useful of all the free healing skills. When it comes to our World vs. World as team support class that I play, the two things that is important is team support healing and team buffing. Healings mean you regenerate the health of the ally so they survive longer, and buffing means you improve either the power, the collision damage, or the critical chance, that sort of thing. When it comes to team support healing, I think everyone will agree that the Well of Blood is the best choice because it directly provides healing to your allies, while your other two healing skills does not provide any healing laterally to your allies. Yes, through using the Wound of the Rainier, you can use these other two skills to give regeneration to your allies also, but out of the three, Well of Blood by far is the best team support healing skill. When it comes to team buffing, most people will agree that Necromancers don't really have that many access to buffs. Like, we have some regeneration on the Mark of Blood and Spectral Wall for giving protection to allies, which is really useful, but other than those two skills, we don't really have many buffs. So to buff your allies, you have to rely on wounds that give buffs when you cast maybe either healing skill or that sort of thing. Yeah. So for example, the Wound of Attrition will give your allies Fury for critical chance and Smite for both power damage and collision damage. So you can use this wound, and the best skill to use this wound with is the Blood Fiend because of its faster recharge. It's default to 20, and when you trade it, it becomes 16 seconds. So that's much faster than the other two skills. So for team buffing purposes, the Blood Fiend is by far the best skill. So for team support healing, the Well of Blood is better. For team buffing, the Blood Fiend is better. So that's why in World vs. World, Search vs. Search situations, the consume condition is the worst of the three, I would say. Where the consume condition shines is in a one-on-one fight, because when you face someone who have a really lot of conditions, right, this skill help you get rid of those conditions and heal you. So when you get rid of those conditions, that's damage that is not done to you, so you don't have to heal them. So it works both ways, a double benefit. So it's really good for that purpose. The problem I found with the consume condition is that it is much longer recharge, 25 seconds versus the 20 or 16 seconds on the Blood Fiend. And that's roughly a 50% difference. That means per heal, the consume condition have to heal 50% more than the Blood Fiend for it to be on equal footings, and which is, I found, not always the case, because you are relying on conditions. Like, conditions have to be from the enemy, so you are relying on the enemy to be using conditions on you, which I'm not saying it's rare or anything, but you have to rely on that, and that I don't really like, because it's just may not be consistent. Maybe the guy just happen to be pure power blast, that sort of thing, and then it's not going to be good for it. While the Blood Fiend, after you summon it, every single time that the Blood Fiend hits the enemy, not only does it deal damage to the enemy, which helps your fight in one-on-one, it also heals you on a more consistent 900 kind of basis, right? So I feel that the Blood Fiend is more consistent in a general overall sort of fight, even in one-on-one, better than consume conditions. And on top of that, for wounds like the Wound of the Rainier, which give you regeneration every time you use a healing skills, every 10 second cooldown, that sort of thing, the Blood Fiend is better because it have a better recharge. It have a faster recharge, so it have a better strategy than the consume condition with the wounds, right, of the Rainier, for example, that sort of thing. And on top of that, you can use the Blood Fiend actually every 10 seconds, once every combo usage of the two skills, because when you use it the first time, the recharge time set and your minion is out there, and after that 10 seconds you can destroy the minion, use the second skill and kill yourself and get the second regenerations. So you can actually reapply that regeneration faster than the 16 seconds as indicated, because you can the recharge is actually only 10 seconds on the wound of the minion, that sort of thing. So I hope that clears things up as to why I personally favor the Well of Blood number 1, and then the Blood Free, and finally last the least is the consume conditions. The next question that someone asked me is about the races that you should choose as a Necromancer based on the skills, and that's a really difficult question for me to answer because I have only played the Char and the Rom. But I'll try my best to answer those questions by starting a new character and going into the worlds as well, so I can see the skills in a level 80 sort of setting. I will start with the Rom because that's my most familiar race, my primary profession. So I'll start with Core Worm. It doesn't really have much synergy with any Necromancer skills, unfortunately. I mean, it's interesting because you summon it, it attacks from range, and it will go into melee range against the enemy. That sort of thing is interesting combo, but I don't feel it's any stronger than the minions that as a Necromancer you already have. That's one thing we have. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we already have so many summons, and it's just redundant. It's kind of pointless. I mean, it's suffer. It dies I think faster than the Sadophian. It dies just like in World vs. World. It just dies just as fast, so it doesn't really make much difference at all, unfortunately. Core Owl have a decent synergy with Condition Mancer, because if your condition damage is high, it will affect that bleeding damage. It's pretty much a single target version of the Mark of Blood. Sim damage 3 stacks of bleeding for X seconds, etc. the sim. So what you can do is you can maybe Mark of Blood, Blood is Power, Core Owl, and then Epidemic. That could be a decent combo for the World vs. World when you want to spread a bunch of I think that's X stacks of bleeding right there, that sort of thing. So you can do that, right? But with the nerf to Epidemic, I don't think that's viable anymore, honestly. And I personally I don't think it really help much. There's a better Necromancer utility out there to take. Next are the elite skills. Becoming the Raven. I don't find much synergy of this skill with any Necromancer build, because it is mostly a lot back. I think disabling just interrupting, that sort of elite skill, and I don't find this useful at all. I mean, we all have a fear and a bunch of stuff, and I would rather take a plague over this. I mean, well, nothing beats plague. I'll explain that in a sec, but yeah, this is really weak. That won't bother. It's probably weakest of all the transformation skills. Snow Leopard, really good skill for World vs. World roaming, because skill number 5 gives you stealth to hide from your enemies, and go off target and go skill number 4 give you this crazy dash skill, which can really lots of distance really rapidly. So really good skill for World vs. World roaming when you're trying to get back to your allies before you turn back on your plague. Becoming the Bear, I guess it's useful if you are pure power Necromancer and you really want to go into some kind of warrior fancy, that sort of thing, the melee. But honestly, if you want to play that style, why don't you just pick a warrior? I mean, yeah, it's not Necromancer like at all, and I won't recommend this. Wolf is interesting because it provides a team buff that gives regeneration and fury to your allies. It also gives some life stealing and also bleeding, so useful if you're a Condition Mancer. But unfortunately, as a Necromancer, you cannot survive a melee fight without any sort of buffs, and this skill doesn't give you any buffs whatsoever, so I won't bother with this. So out of all the skills, the only thing you should look at for Long is the Snow Leopard. That is useful if you want to pick Long as your race. Now let's look at the Char. Battle War team buff skills obviously are really useful for any situation, especially World vs. World. Doesn't even matter if you're lag or a lot. This is going to be a really useful skill to use. Hidden Principle, yeah, it's an evasion skill, semi damage, but no, I won't bother with this. It's okay. And then the Warp Support. Decent, just 2 summon guy that can fight for you for a few seconds, but in World vs. World they die way too fast to be of any use, to be honest. So I won't bother. But I guess if you mix it with a bunch of other millions and with this elite skill, then you pretty much create a whole army. Like what? Like 4 millions and then 2 additional guys here. So that's what? That's 6 guys just and yourself. So 7 guys just by yourself. So that's pretty interesting, I would say. And then there are, of course, there are, oh no, not this one. There are ChaCha. Yeah, the ChaCha. ChaCha is useful for condition damage because it burns physical damage because it hits, right? So yeah, knockback is a really good elite skill. I would say the ChaCha is a really decent elite skill, even for Necromancer, because it's just, yeah, see that burning. You can burn with your condition damage. That's gonna be huge. I'm on 5th. I don't really have that much condition damage, but not gonna damage really good way anyway. So yeah, it's not bad. Lots of burning, lots of fire. so yeah, Cha overall I would say is a really good Necromancer base build for power or condition damage because of all the team buff it gives, the potential extra summoning, and just the fire damage, just power damage. That's something really good. Unfortunately, I found out that I cannot actually see the skills unless I level it up to that level, so I can't really explain it too detailedly. But I know that Pain Inventor is really good because it gives you it gives confusion to your enemy while you yourself get retaliation. So if someone is not careful and they are really against you, they could potentially kill themselves, and this works really well with the high health of the Necromancer. So that's one of the useful skills. The radiation field is pretty much the same as the corrosive poison cloud, but on a much longer recharge. I think it's 60 seconds, so useless, I would say. Techno Bubble just stays the foe for 2 seconds, just like the Warhorn skill 4. I look at the elite skills and they have 2 summoning skills and 1 transform skill. I haven't never tried them, but I have rarely seen anyone use this in the World vs. World, so I assume they're really underpowered, so I won't bother. So it seems that the Pain Inventor is the skill that you should be looking at when you are deciding if you want to play Ashura Necromancer. As for the Safari, they have this skill called the Healing Seed, which can heal your allies around you, last 30 seconds and recharge only 45 seconds. Sounds really good, but the Healing Seed can be easily destroyed, I heard. So that's the trade-off. Well of Blood, it will last the whole 10 seconds once you cast it. So Healing Seed, I would imagine, I'm not sure about the exact numbers, but I imagine it's a better skill for out of combat healing. Right, if your commander like to retreat out, everyone heal, water field, whatever, Healing Seed is better than Well of Blood. But in the middle of the combat chaos, AoE everywhere, you want Well of Blood, because once you cast it, it's going to be there for 10 seconds. Grasping Wands is a really good slaying skills, and I see this used in World vs. World all the time because you have to destroy the wand at your feet before you can escape. And you can combine this, I guess, with special grabs to double slay the enemy. That's really useful. So yeah, interesting skill to try. The Seed Turret is pretty much the same thing as the Flash Worm, in that it's a stationary defense, and it's on a 60-second recharge, so I would say it's pretty useless. The elite seems to be a bunch of useless summons that I've never seen anyone use in World vs. World. This one make you stationary, so it's suicidal. This one bleed and poisons, but I'm not sure it even scales with your collision damage. This one heals. Once again, I'm not sure it scales with your healing power. So I would say when you choose your funny, it's mostly for the Grasping Wing for slaying. Humans, players to Durania, self-healing skill. I'm not sure how powerful this one is. Prayer to Cormier removes 3 conditions every 40 seconds. As a Necromancer, I don't see why you would bother with this. Way too long recharge, and you have better options anyway. Pray to Lisa, random boom to yourself and random condition to your enemy every 12 seconds. The recharge is pretty fast, but honestly I don't see why you would bother with this. Avatar of Mana do a bunch of buffs, healing and condition removal for your allies, but it's on a 180-second cooldown and it only lasts 30 seconds. I won't bother. If you want to do that, those kind of things, you should rely on something else. Hands of Professor, I heard it's a decent summon skill, physical damage and burning, although I'm not sure the burning itself scales with your condition damage. Whip Grave is pretty much the weaker version of Plague because it's limited to only poison and chill. I guess it's decent, but I probably would think a Plague with a Blind is much more devastating for the enemy circ. So far, I don't really see much reason why you would choose human except for the looks. So maybe Hans of Professor, I heard some good things about it, but I've never used it personally, so I can't tell. But anyway, I hope that you learned something today. See you, bye bye.